Sandra, would you like to read the last question, please?
Question 28. What is liberation? Inquiring into the nature of oneself that is in bondage and realizing one's true nature is liberation. Inquiring into the nature of oneself that is in bondage and realizing one's nature is liberation.
See, Bhagavan has clarified this in very few places. I think talk number 36 or 37 is the only other place, I think, if my memory serves me right, where Bhagavan has talked in a very subtle way, and most of the devotees don't hold on to this. They don't focus on this. Look at this last question. Read it carefully. Inquiring into the nature of one's self that is in bondage. That self which is in bondage. And realizing one's true nature is liberation. So there are two-step process here. One is always just saying like all the talks on Advaita Vedanta, whether it be clarified. Inquiring into the nature of oneself that is in bondage. That self which is in bondage. That self, that limited self who is still working, who is still planning, who is still doing this and doing that. Let's understand that nature, my limitations, just understanding it leads us to the realization of one's true nature, which will liberate me. That is the only way, and I speak from experience. Let me pick up the talk the talks. I want to read that. It's a long question and answer, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But question number 26, my memory was not that bad. How shall we discover the nature of the mind? That is, its ultimate cause or the nomenon of which it is a manifestation. Nomenon is the philosophical phenomenon of something existent. How shall we discover the nature of the mind that is its ultimate cause or the nomenon of which it is a manifestation? Question is very profound. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph of it, and very subtly Bhagavan has given a hint. Bhagavan, Maharshi, arranging thoughts in the order of value. The I thought is the all-important thought. Personality idea or thought is also the root or the stem of all other thoughts. Since each idea or the thought arises only as someone's thought and is not known to exist independently of the ego. The ego, therefore, exhibits thought activity. The second and the third persons do not appear except for the first person. Therefore, they arise only after the first person appears. So all the three persons seem to rise and sink together. Here comes the crucial word. Trace then the ultimate cause of I, the ego, or personality. The I idea arrives to an embodied ego and should be related to a body or organism. He is directly talking about identifying that limited I, to dispel that fallacy, to dispel that obfuscation, to dispel that doubt, to dispel that confusion, to get to the realism. It's like saying that the reality is behind this veil, so you got to move the veil. Just as Bhagavan has said, screen does not change, but we got to remove the images in front of it, whichever way you want to look at it, isn't it? You remove the images, then the movie is over, the screen is still static exactly the way it was before the movie began. So, inquiring into the nature of oneself, that is in bondage. That self which is in bondage, and realizing one's true nature is liberation. And messages from the realized souls only come in a very subtle way. They don't come as a cooked meal in front of us. They give us the components, they put it together.
So Bantu,
Yeah.
just getting back to your practice, did Ramana, did he, I'm sure he was asked, do people just do the inquiry versus meditation? Did he probably said, do what you want to do. But, the practice is part of the awareness of the I thought constantly, trying to I. So I just thought maybe just if you had a couple comments on that, where the effort should be.
Bhagavan only said the effort should be on staying constantly with the reality, the I, which is the reality. He always brought us back to that from whatever Bandhu is recalling right now, from the talks or from letters from Sri Ramana by Suri Nagamma or Devraj Mudaliya's Day by Day. Most of the talks, Bhagavan always pointed to staying with the I, staying with the reality, and not worry about anything. And he always said, whether you do pranayama or you meditate, you would always only create a crutch for yourself. So remove the crutches. The pranayama, he always again and again said, even when the scholars would come to him and argue about the ratio of the kumbhaka, rechaka, and puraka. The ratio of inhalation and then kumbhaka retention and rechaka exhalation. And people who were yogis would argue with him at length. There was a gentleman who just didn't leave the argument until Bhagavan told them that the best thing for you to do is to go away. Bhagavan was blunt with him because he just wanted to show, he had come to show his knowledge. And he kept arguing about the ratio. And he says, the ratio of 1:2:1 or 1:3:1 or 2:6:3. And he kept going back and forth. Bhagavan always used to say that the moment, even if you become a pranayama yogi, and you will become a pranayama yogi if you focus on pranayama, nothing wrong with it. You would learn to hold your breath for long periods of time. People do that even today in India. They go underground and they survive and they come out after 10 days. And they have people burying them and putting sand and everything on them. And they come out after 10 days and they're breathing. They are pranayama yogis. And Bhagavan used to caution us because he used to say, what is your ultimate goal? If your ultimate goal is to become a pranayama yogi, go ahead and do that. But you're going to remain in this cycle of life and death and coming back again as a yogi, because then you would have really practiced it for long time for you to be reborn, to be born again as a pranayama yogi or tell people about pranayama. So he always advised not to do that. In fact, when that person argued further, Bhagavan said the best way is to go into rhythmic breathing rather than counting the breath. Because when you count the breath, the mind is going to be attached to that calculation. The day you don't maintain your ratio, you're not going to have good pranayama, and that is going to bother you. Because you're a pranayama yogi, so you're going to say, my pranayama wasn't good today. It's like a musician who has perfected a note, and if he has a jarring note while singing, he cannot forget that moment and say, oh, the note did go right. I hope this is making sense. So, Francis, to answer the question, Bhagavan always brought us back to the ultimate. Bhagavan very subtly, the question talk number 26 that I referred to, and the last question of the who am I? At least those are the two places I've found Bhagavan has said. And there's one more quote in Sattva Darshanam, but I cannot recall the verse number. There is a subtle thing there in Sattva Darshanam that Bhagavan wrote 40 verses on reality. Yes, but that also is very subtle.
Thank you, Bantu. Very helpful.
We are coming to an end of Who Am I? And very blessed Bandhu feels, consider that to be a big blessing, that Bhagavan started or let me be the person, the instrument to be able to do these satsangs consistently, without a break, except I don't remember ever not having showed up. Okay. Arunachala.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Arunachala.
Arunachala. Arunachala. Arunachala.
Arunachala.